This course is about Linux administration. So before we go into the course detail, we'll start with what is Linux. So I think you may be familiar with what is Linux. So Linux is an operating system. So what is Linux? Linux is an operating system. So operating system is a collection of programs which is used like interface between the user and the hardware. So suppose if I have purchased a new machine, brand new machine, can I use it directly without OS? We cannot use it. Why? Because we cannot interact with the machine, as machine understand only machine language, which is in the form of zeros and ones. So I need an interface. I need an interface through which I can able to communicate with the machine. So for that purpose, first and foremost thing we need to do is we need to install some or the other OS. So we have different types of OS, but through this course, we are going to discuss about Linux. So as I told you, Linux is an operating system which will act like an interface between the user and the hardware. So basically, when we talk about this Linux, one thing it separates from other operating system is that it is an open source operating system. What is meant by open source? We'll go little bit later. So first we'll see this Linux operating system consists of two important program parts. So the first program part of this Linux operating system is called as shell, and the other main program of the Linux operating system is called as kernel. So we can say Linux, which is an operating system, consists of two main parts of the program. That program is logically divided into two layers. One is called the shell and the other one is called the kernel. So technically speaking, Linux is also called as kernel because the main part of this Linux operating system is called as what? Kernel. So that's why kernel is also referred as core of the Linux operating system. So we can say Linux, which is an operating system, is logically divided into two main programs. The first program is called as the shell, and the main program of this Linux operating system is called as kernel. So first let us discuss about what is meant by shell. So suppose if I want to apply any command in Windows operating system, we need to go to where? Command prompt. So same way, whenever we need to apply any command through the Linux operating system, we need to open the terminal. So whenever we need to apply any command, I need to open what? Terminal. So once I open the terminal, we are going to use what? The shell. So if you open the terminal in Linux to apply the command, that terminal is one type of shell. So the most commonly used are by default, which shell we will be using in Linux? The program or the shell name is what? Bin bash. So whenever we open the terminal to apply the command, we are going to open which shell? Bin bash. So this is the default shell we used in Linux to apply our command. So what basically this shell will do? So we are getting the shell when we open the terminal. But what is the role of this shell? What the shell will do for us? So basically, when we are executing or writing the command or written the commands will be in the form of high-level language. And as you know, the machine never understands the other than binary language. So what this shell will do, it will convert the command which is in the high level language into the binary, that is into the form of zeros and ones. So basically it is working like a language translator. So when we give the input, the shell will convert our high level language, which is in the form of a command, into binary, that is into the zeros and ones. So basically it is working like a language translator. So when I give the input, the shell will convert the high level language into, it is converting the high level language into binary language. So now the machine will understand our command, binary language, which is in the form of zeros and ones. Then the main task is what? That function, the task which we have given has to be executed. So who will execute that task? The task will be done by the kernel. So the main part of the Linux operating system is called as what? The kernel. Now, when we are talking about the kernel, the name of the kernel which we are using in Linux is VM Linux. This is the name of the kernel which we are using in Linux, VM Linux. Then what is the role or the function? What is the role or function of this kernel? So what the kernel will do is that, like, to understand in a simple way, you can say kernel is something like a brain of the operating system. Brain of the operating system. Like, what is the function of our brain? It controls and manages whatever task we will do. So same way, whenever we try to execute any command, first the command will be given in the high level language. So the shell will convert that into binary. Then the input, which is in the binary, will go to the kernel. Now, what the kernel will do, it will decide this particular task should be done by which particular hardware and software, because the machine consists of what? Hardware. It's a collection of hardware and software. So who will decide this? Which task, whether it is arithmetical or logical function, whatever you are doing or executing through the Linux operating system, will be decided and controlled by the kernel. That task will be done by which particular part of the machine will be decided and controlled and managed by the kernel. So that's why kernel is called something like a brain of the Linux operating system. So what is the role or function of this? It control and manages, it control and manages all the tasks whatever we do through the Linux operating system. So this is, the task will not be done by kernel, but it will take out the work from the machine, which consists of what? It control and manages all the tasks with the help of our machine, which consists of hardware and software. So this is how the Linux operating system will function. So whenever we give the input has to be given, or our task has to be given in the form of command that will be given from the terminal. So when we are using the terminal, means we are using the shell. Which shell? Bin bash. So what is the role or function of that shell? It will convert our command, which is in the high level format, into the binary, and that input in the, which is consist of now the binary language in the form of zeros and ones, will be going to the kernel. Now the kernel will decide, which is called as the core of the operating system. In simple word, we can call this as a brain of the Linux operating system. It will send that task to a particular hardware or software. Like example, if I'm suppose walking, so my legs will come into the picture. When suppose I'm reading, I'll be taking the eyes and other and memory sensors. So in this, every part of our body will play for particular tasks the the role. So same way, whichever particular task will be done will be decided and controlled and managed by the kernel in the Linux. So now Once the task is being done by the machine, the output will be in binary format. So what will happen now? The kernel will send the output, which is in the binary format, again to the shell. The output again, once the output is available in the binary format, what will happen? It will send the output to the shell. So once it reaches to the shell which we are using in Linux, bin bash. So once it is reaches, what will happen? Once it reaches there, again, the shell will convert the output from the binary to high level language, and it displays on the monitor or the screen. So this is how the Linux operating system will operate with the help of this shell and kernel. So now, do you have any idea like who developed or who designed this Linux kernel? Let us see that. So this Linux kernel is being designed by a person who is referred with the name Linus Torvald. In 1990, a person with the name Linus Torvald of Finland country designed this Linux kernel, which is consist of what? A collection of programs. So generally, whoever design any program, that program will be never shown to the others. But this gentleman, what he did after designing this Linux source code or the program, he given that program to one organization which is called Open Source Foundation. In short, it is called OSF. So this organization has put the complete source code which the Linus Torvald has written to design this Linux kernel over the internet, which anybody can access and modify. Because of this reason, Linux is called as open source operating system. So I repeat once again, if somebody asks us what is meant by Linux, means in simple single word, we can give the answer as Linux is an open source operating system. So just now we have discussed what is meant by operating system. Now we'll try to understand what is meant by open source. So open source means the source code of this Linux operating system, which has been designed by Linus Torvald, is freely available. The source code of this Linux operating system program, which is called as a kernel, is freely available, which anybody can access as well as can modify it. Because of this, Linux is called as open source operating system. Open source means the source code of this Linux kernel is freely available, which anybody can access and modify it. Because of this, in Linux, we have so many flavors. So I think you might be aware about at least few flavors like Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, Ubuntu. These are all the flavors. So how it is possible? Because the Linux kernel is available free of cost in with the source code, which anybody can access and can also edit it or modify it. Because of that, Linux is called as open source operating system. Because of this reason, we have so many flavors in Linux. Some of the flavors we can see in the next slide. Before that, here you can see the penguin. Here, penguin represent the official logo of the Linux operating system. So the official logo of the Linux operating system is penguin. So now let us just discuss about some of the flavors. This is not all the flavors. These are some of the flavors, some of the names of the Linux flavor like Red Hat, SUSE, Puppy Linux, Ubuntu, Debian, Backtrack. One Indian name is also there, Bharat Operating System Solution, Turbo Linux, Slackware, Kali Linux. So these are all some of the flavors of Linux operating system. So out of this, which one we are going to discuss? Red Hat, because most of the servers which are working in Linux, maximum servers are working on the Red Hat. So Red Hat provides you very good operating system with good features as well as the technical support. So we are going to discuss our Linux administration course through the Red Hat flavor. So this company, Red Hat, came into the market in 1993 and they have released their first flavor with the name Red Hat 1, and they have distributed this OS completely free of cost. And then they took the people suggestion or the general people suggestion and they added one by one many other features, and simultaneously they released their different versions like Red Hat 2, Red Hat 3, Red Hat 4. So they released up to from Red Hat 1 to Red Hat 9 completely free of cost. Then from the 2000 onwards, the Red Hat company is releasing their OS in two categories, free edition and commercial. So what is the main difference between free edition and commercial is that in free edition, they are distributing their OS free of cost. There is no charges. The OS is completely available free of cost. But in the free edition, I repeat, the OS is available completely free of cost. It is completely free. That's why it is given the name free edition, free of cost, no charges. But here in commercial, they are distributing their OS not free. They are charging. They are charging. So these charges is not for the OS because Linux is an open source operating system, free of cost, and the source code is available freely. So they are charging here to provide the support. So the Red Hat company is releasing their OS in two categories, free edition and commercial. Free means the OS is completely free, but in that there is no technical support they are providing. And in commercial edition, for their OS, they are charging to provide the technical assistance or technical support. Technical support is there. So in commercial edition, they are releasing their OS with this series name RHEL, where RHEL stands for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Whereas the free edition, they are releasing with the series name called Fedora. So if you talk about this edition, the main difference between free edition and commercial, as I told you, the charges. So in the Fedora series, it is completely free, but no technical support. And the features which you have in Fedora will be less compared to the commercial edition. So this commercial edition is basically designed for the industry with lots of features. Along with this all, they will provide you the technical support. For that, they are charging. So in this first edition of commercial, they released their OS with what name? RHEL1. Then after few years, they released, like in Windows, they release after a certain time, like 2 to 3 years. The same way in Linux also, is Red Hat company releasing their OS after certain duration of time, like 2 to 3 years, the upgrade version, a new version. So first they release what? RHEL1. After that, they release RHEL2, RHEL3, like this. Now, presently, most of the Linux servers are operating on RHEL7. So we are going to discuss our course Linux administration through this course. This course will be going to discuss through RHEL 7.0 version. So what are the features we have in this, not only in RHEL, we are talking in general, what are the features we have in the Linux operating system that we will discuss now. So these are the some of the important features of Linux operating system, whether you use the Ubuntu or the Kali Linux or the Debian or any other or Red Hat. These features will be there. So one of the important feature of Linux operating system is Linux operating system is a open source operating system. So already we discussed open source means the source code of this Linux operating system, which is technically can be called as kernel, Linux kernel, which is designed by Linus Torvalds, is freely available with the source code, which anybody can access and modify. Because of that, you have so many flavors like we have discussed in the previous slide. So once you take the source code of the Linux solver and if you make some modification, then you can have your own OS with your own logo. It is completely free of cost. We don't have to pay anything to anybody. That's why Linux is also called as free and open source operating system. So in this, we are going to discuss about which flavor? RHEL7. So these features of this Linux operating system, which is not there only in RHEL7, but in general in other flavors also. So one of the important feature of Linux OS is it is an open source operating system. Open source means the source code of this Linux kernel is freely available, which anybody can access and modify. By doing that, we can have our own OS with our own logo. That's why we have so many flavors in Linux operating system. And the another important feature of Linux operating system is we can able to do the multiple tasking. Like we have this feature in most of the operating system. So in this operating system also we can do multiple tasks simultaneously. So Linux operating system support multiple tasking. Along with that, another very important feature in Linux operating system is it supports multiple user to log in without logout. So when we install Linux operating system, by default, we will get 6 virtual consoles. So from each console, we can log in with a different user and can do different tasks without logout. So in Windows, we can switch from one user to another, but once we switch, the user will log out. But here in Linux, we can log in with multiple user without logout and can perform multiple tasks. So this is one of the another important advantage of Linux operating system. Along with the source code freely available, it allows multiple users to log in and perform multiple tasks simultaneously without logout. Another interesting feature is like this OS has been designed from Unix. So Unix used to be hardware dependent OS, but like Windows, the Linux is being made hardware independent. That feature we are saying with the name called portability. So portability means now Linux, like Windows, has been made hardware independent. Means we doesn't require any specific hardware to install the Linux operating system. Like it was the case in the in the Unix. Like if I want to install Solaris, I need to have only Sun hardware. Same way if I want to install AIX, I need to have the IBM hardware. So that type of hardware compatibility issues not there in the Linux operating system. So that feature we are calling here with the name portability. So another important thing in Linux 8, it has a single operating system. Like in Windows, we have two types of OS. The Microsoft company are releasing their OS in two categories. One they are calling client OS, the other one the server OS. But in Linux, for simplicity, they have kept a single OS, which can be used like a client or server depending upon our requirement. So that feature here is called as scalability. Means single OS can be used depending upon requirement as a client or server. And next important thing is the people used to use Unix because of its security. So that concept of good security along with the reliability is ensured in Linux operating system also. So one of the common factor why today most of the servers are running on Linux is Linux provides very high reliability, means on which we can trust, because Linux servers will provide you very less downtime, means most of the servers which we have configured on Linux doesn't frequently get shut down. And when we install any new service in Linux servers, we doesn't have to restart the machine. Just we have to restart the service and that service will run without any downtime. That's why most of the servers today are working on Linux because it has a very less downtime compared to other operating systems. And one of the important advantage of using the Linux OS is it is also very stable and secure OS. So like every operating system comes inbuilt with some security. Like in Windows, we have a security in the form of firewall. So same way in Linux operating system also, we have inbuilt firewall, which will provide you the security. Along with that, we also have in Linux some extra securities like IP tables through which we can write the rules, which service should be allowed, which should be blocked to which user, those things. For that, we have to write the rules, which is called IP tables. And along with that, they introduce one more very good security that is called SC Linux, which is called Security Enhanced Linux, which makes Linux very secure. So these are some of the important features we have in Linux operating system. Now, this course, which is about Linux administration, we are going to focus. The main thing is what now we know. What is Linux? Linux is an open source operating system. What is meant by administration? So administration means what? Managing our network. So as an administrator in our day-to-day routine work in our industry or company, we need to perform many roles. So these roles broadly can be categorized into two types. So through this Linux operating system course, we are going to focus on how to manage our network as well as how to configure the servers, because most of the servers are working on Linux. So through this course, we are going to discuss how to manage our network as well as how to configure the servers through the Linux. So basically, when we talk about a server means which provide services. So to provide the services, we need to configure the servers. So through this Linux operating system course, we are going to concentrate on how to manage our day-to-day routine work as an administrator, as well as depending upon the company requirement, how to configure the servers. So these are the two main areas we are going to focus through this course, Linux administration. So now I'll give you the idea through this Linux administration course. We are going to discuss what are the important topics through which we can manage and configure the servers. So I'll just go through the content of this course. I'll go through the content of this course, which we'll be discussing through this Linux administration course. Okay, so like most of the people are not aware much about the Linux operating system compared to the Windows. So that's why in this course we are going to start with what the basic, what is Linux, who designed it. This operating system is been developed based on Unix. So we'll start with what? Introduction of Linux. Like today I give you briefly some idea what is Linux, who designed it, what things makes the Linux separate from others, like it is an open source feature. So that will be discussed along with how to install this Linux operating system. So as I told you some minutes back, we are going to discuss this course through the RHEL 7. So we'll discuss in this course how to install this operating system Linux. So once we install this, we need to know, before we operate it, we should know the structure of the Linux operating system. So we are going to discuss in which particular location or in which particular directory, which type of data will be stored. Like in Windows, we are aware when we install the Windows OS, the OS will get installed on C drive. So same way, when we install the Linux OS, it will get installed on a directory called slash, which is referred with the root directory. So under that, the admin data will be stored where, user data will be stored where, and when we install any application, where it will be stored. All those things we'll be discussing with the topic called structure of Linux operating system. So after that, we will focus on 2 days, the basic commands, like how to log in as an administrator, what is the name of the administrator. Like you might be aware, in Linux, the administrator is referred with the name called root. So how we can log in as a root, how to open the terminal, how to check in which directory we are working, how to change the directory like using the command cd, how to check our content like using the ls. All these basic commands we'll be discussing, along with how to create the file using certain commands which is most commonly used in Linux like cat, touch and vi. So with these basic commands, we are also going to focus how to create a normal text file using cat, touch and vi editor. And what is the difference between these three commands we'll discuss. Along with that, we are also going to focus in the basic commands how to create a directory by using the command mkdir. Then how to copy the files and folder by using the cp command, as well as when we know how to create, we should also know how to remove. So we'll be also discussing how to remove the files and folder using the command rm. So that is about the basic commands. So this has been kept in mind because most of the people will be joining this course without knowing much about Linux. So that's why we have these basic commands. After that, we'll move to the administration part. Then in the administration part, our first topic will be what? One of the important role as an administrator we need to perform is creating and managing the user account. So we'll be discussing how to create the user, how to change the parameters of the user based on the company requirement. So that we'll be discussing under user administration. Then if you need to apply or give same permission to multiple user, we need to create what? Group. So how we can create the group before we apply the permission, how to make one of the user as group admin, along with our requirement, how to apply the permission, that will be discussed by using two permission policies, basic file permission and access control list. So using these permission policies, we are going to focus how we can protect and make our data secure. Then after that, we are going to discuss about how to manage our hard disk. So to manage our hard disk, we'll be focusing on what? How to create a partition. How to create a partition. Along with that, if you want to do the resizing of the partition, we need to use the concept called LVM. Like in Windows, we are using shrink option to resize the partition size. So same way in Linux, similar to like shrink option, we have to implement a concept or mechanism that is called LVM, which is called Logical Volume Manager, through which we will do the resizing of the partition. And if some users are wasting the server hard disk, we can allocate or restrict the user from getting the full space of the hard disk by allocating them some limited or restricted space by using the concept called disk quota. So to manage our hard disk, we will be discussing how to create a partition, how to resize our partition using LVM, as well as how to protect the wastage of the hard disk space by implementing the disk quota. Then we will be also discussing a technology called RAID, redundant array of independent disk, through which we can prevent the data loss even if the hard disk get failed by using the RAID levels. So we are going to discuss through the implementation of RAID level 0, RAID level 1, RAID level 5, these levels, and how to configure it. Along with that, we will be also discussing what is the importance of swap partition, through which we can improve our system performance. Then, once this part is completed, this is related with managing our network. Then coming to the second part, that is how to configure the servers. So most commonly used method in Red Hat to install the application is RPM and M. So here package means what? Collection of application. So how to install the application in Red Hat, which will be having the extension of .rpm. In Red Hat, the application will be ending with what extension? .rpm. Like in Windows, the application will be ending with what? .exe. So in Red Hat, the application will be in the format of .rpm. So to install those applications, we have two tools, RPM and M. So we are going to discuss how to install the application using RPM and M, and what is the fundamental difference between RPM and M, we'll discuss. So once you are having this knowledge, then you can able to configure the servers. So our next part will be what? Configuration of some important and basic servers. So which will begin with what? DHCP server. So DHCP, which stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, through which we will assign dynamically, that is automatically, the IP address to all our client. We need to maintain or configure in our network what? DHCP server. So we are going to discuss as an administrator how to configure the DHCP server through which we can provide the IP address to all our client machine dynamically, that is automatically. Then network is created for what purpose? Sharing our resources. So to do the sharing of data, we will be discussing three important servers. So we'll discuss how to configure the FTP through which we can share the files on different operating systems. Then to do the sharing of files and folder, we will be discussing how to configure the NFS server. It is similar to like share folder. In Windows, we'll do the sharing through share folder. In Linux, we will do through the NFS. But in Linux, through the FTP, we can share only files, but not folder directly. With NFS, we can share both files and folder, but only between Linux to Linux. It will not support other operating system. FTP will support other operating system, but it will support only file, but not folder. So these two servers will be discussing along with how to configure the DNS server through which we will resolve the name into IP address. So it is a resolution service which consists of forward lookup zone and reverse lookup zone. How to configure it and how it will able to resolve name into IP, that we will focus by configuration of DNS server. So this DNS concept is most commonly used in browsing the website with the name. So, but when you can access the website, when the company is hosting the website. So as an administrator, you should be familiar with how to host our website. So for that, most commonly used web server is Apache. So through Linux operating system, we are going to focus how to host our website using the Apache web server. So this is the very important topic we are going to discuss through this course, Linux administration, by which we can able to host our website. Then we have one more important feature in Linux. We can configure free of cost the mail server. So one of the commonly used mail server in Linux for exchanging the mails in text mode, we have postfix mail server. So that also we will see how to configure the postfix mail server. And we'll be ending our course with an important server called Samba server, through which we can share the files and folder both between different operating systems. So in the real-time environment, most of the servers are on Linux and most of the clients are using Windows. So through the Samba server, we can able to share the files and folder between Windows to Linux and Linux to Windows. How to do that? That will be our one of the important concept in Linux administration. So this is the overall content which we are going to discuss through this Linux administration course. So I hope you will take this course because this course will definitely increase your knowledge and improve your job opportunities, because now most of these servers are working on Linux. So by this course, you will definitely able to get the knowledge. Along with that, we can also appear for the Red Hat certification, RSCSA, system administration part. So hope to see you for this course, Linux administration. Thank you, everybody.